Hello, Ramstein. How's everyone doing today? Today is July 6th. It's 2 days after the 4th of July. Hopefully you guys are all careful with your fireworks and drinking, being very responsible, not causing any too much havoc. But let me tell you, what about this heat wave we've been getting in the last few weeks? My God, it's like even in my room, I feel like I'm in a freaking sauna. I have to have my windows and my door open. I'm almost tempted to go full commando when that's happening. But thankfully, that hasn't been the case. And speaking of the weather, we actually, it looks like we got ourselves a cool breeze for a change. So, according to theweatherchannel.com, tonight we're supposed to be experiencing a low of 60 degrees, and that's in Fahrenheit right here. Can't really understand the difference between Fahrenheit and Celsius, but hey, that's not the point. Now, of course, tomorrow we're probably looking at going up into the 90s once again. But hey, the good news is that Wednesday and Thursday we're looking at clouds, and there's a good chance on Thursday it's going to rain, which means, oh, hallelujah. Just go ahead and just go out in your bathing suits and everything and just go enjoy yourselves with a good old-fashioned time. What's up, everyone? This is Sean Collado, previously known as a host of Sack of Jacks, which was my original YouTube channel name. And I'm actually going to be changing that now to this new one I call After Work Hours. What is After Work Hours, you say? Well, I'll tell you what it is. Basically, it's me. It's after work, or I'm outside of work, and I just do my spiel. What is my spiel, you say? Well, for those of you who are familiar with my YouTube channel, however very small and minuscule it is, I like to, or I'm trying to do movie reviews, video game playthroughs, and maybe some discussions along the way. But as most of you, and when I say most of you, I mean specifically those guys in my shop that know that I've got a YouTube channel, I also do collaboration work with another guy on YouTube who's actually part of the workforce, known as the Mighty Ben Stein. And as you guys are probably aware, in the last video we had, which came out in, just give me a quick second right here. This came out in, in May, which was, May, was it? Oh man, it really has been that long since we did a video. Damn. Well, hey, that's what you get when you're being in the work. Sometimes you get your free time to work on your projects. Other times, just like, who cares? You gotta go to work. You gotta do this. Gotta get to this appointment. We got this little bit of training you gotta do. So we don't really care. You gotta do this. It's important. But hey, that's life. But anyhow, going off topic right there. As you guys are probably fully aware, in the last video, the May 2015 Loot Crate unboxing and review, featuring yours truly on Mighty Ben Stein. At the very end of it, he announced that for the next Loot Crate, the June Loot Crate, that I was going to be participating in a challenge of some sort, which is actually related to the Loot Crate to get the spare one. Because as of February, apparently he's beginning spare Loot Crates. In addition to the one he ordered for himself, somehow he ends up with an extra one. And last few months, I've been able to get the last extra ones myself, which is, I got to say, a pretty cool deal. I'm also tempted to do a Loot Crate order myself, but I got to watch the funds and everything. But anyhow, he pretty much says that I'm going to be doing a challenge for it. So it looks like there's going to be competition, and it just happens to be one of my coworkers. I'm not sure if he's got a YouTube channel himself. Probably should get one on his own, but hey, it is what it is. Okay. Well, that's about it for the little intro right here. So, as you've probably been wondering, you've been waiting, I'd say, for my own stuff, 3 months. 3 months, I know. Today, I'm going to explain why good old Sean here has been MIA. First up, scheduling. And everyone knows how bothersome scheduling can be. I mean, whether it's having to schedule waking up at a very early time so that way you can get your shower, your teeth brushed, get dressed, be able to get to work on time or early, or show up just when you're supposed to get in, like a few people I happen to know. I don't know how those people do it. And of course, there's work schedules where you're changing from day shift to swing shift to night shift. And then you got to readjust your sleep schedule, which means you mess up your sleep patterns and all the freaking chemicals that just go off in you. I don't know the full details. Science was never my best subject. I'll be straight up and honest with you. I absolutely hated science. I understand its practicality, but don't look at me asking a science question, because odds are I'm probably going to know nothing. Then it's going to be running. Now, when I say by running, I mean me actually getting off of my ass, off of my relaxing lounge chair, and off of my somewhat comfy bed, getting out of my room, which I normally like to hold myself up in, and getting out and running, which means, running my legs, getting my heart racing and everything, because, hey, we all got to run at some point, right? But in addition to that, I also got myself a bike, which I happened to get earlier this, what was it, last week or so? Yeah, last week I got myself a bike. And I've been riding it for the past few days, and I gotta tell you, oh, it feels good to be riding a bike again. Let me tell you, it just feels so good to be riding a bike again. Because I used to ride a bike nonstop when I was a kid, and even growing up, and even going into high school, I still rode my bike around the neighborhood. I mean, it's just all part of the youth. Okay, as part of my original last channel update, which I mentioned in the last video, which has gotten 17 views, though it's no surprise since I'm only just starting out, and again, it's minuscule. Now, I'm surprised that when it comes to my videos, my very first one happens to have the most views of 66. Well, it's only natural because it's my very first video, but it's also me singing Hollywood by Michael Bublé, and this is for my pen pal all the way out in the Philippines. Hey, Noemi, how you doing? Okay, and then of course came my second video, which is basically saying coming soon, review of The Interview. Now, as most of you guys probably know, The Interview is the big controversial comedy film with James Franco and Seth Rogen play as TV talk show hosts who go to North Korea to do an interview. CIA recruits them to basically knock off Kim Jong-un. And everyone knows how all crazy is, I guess, is a somewhat nice way of putting it, North Korea is. And of course, naturally, they would take insults on it. Then you got the big Sony hack, and that's just all sorts of old news and everything right there. But in that video, I said that once I was done with the movie, I was going to do a review of it because, I've been waiting for a long time myself because I think it is an absolutely clever idea for a movie, especially for a comedy, and kind of like the way Team America World Police was. And that's actually one of the films that's actually outlawed in North Korea because North Korea is crazy and they don't like films which places them in a bad light, especially in Die Another Day. Though I learned a surprising fact a while back that apparently Kim Jong-un is a huge James Bond fan. That's very, very peculiar. Well, anyhow, I know that one of the people in my shop, or previously was in my shop, and then he defected to an entirely different section, Clark, has been waiting quite a long while for my review on The Interview. Well, Clark, I'm just going to have to say this outright. The movie, it's been out in store for over 5 months right now. I would like to do a really small spiel on it, and I actually am kind of tempted to just do a spiel on it because I'm talking right now. I've got the opportunity, so maybe I should go ahead. Okay, The Interview. Basically what I said beforehand. James Franco, Seth Rogen, they're talk show hosts. They go to North Korea originally to interview Kim Jong-un, and the CIA recruits him to knock him off. Honestly, it is I'm not much one for what I call gross out comedy films. And when I say by gross out, I'm not talking about like, simple pie in the face or some other kind of crazy shenanigan like the old style slapstick comedies. Now, I'm talking about what I mean by gross out comedies. I mean comedies that make almost never-ending jokes involving dirty, filthy things such as private parts, insults, the human anatomy, and all sorts of very unsanitary things and very stuff that you normally would not find in a normal comedy PG-13 movie, which is why Interview got its R rating. Now, don't get me wrong, it's got a lot of great jokes, and the Lord of the Rings references, I honestly lost count of how many times they made a reference to Lord of the Rings. I thought it was like a never-ending, like little small theme, not really a theme, but like a little small trope that they were going with it. But, hey, it's cool. And the story was well crafted and just fun. There's I honestly have a hard time really thinking back on it, what kind of negative things to say about the interview. I mean, is it unrealistic? Absolutely. Is it believable? Well, I guess that would probably go on the same thing as being unrealistic. But I don't know. What are the characters? Are they likable? Yeah, of course they're likable. I mean, it's James Franco and Seth Rogen. They're a great comedic team. I mean, what's not to like about them? Although I have to admit that when it comes to James Franco, I'm pretty certain my girlfriend does not like him. She's crazy about Seth Rogen. Thinks that's the perfect body and everything, which, yeah, I don't know. It's just that's just her view and everything. But okay, I guess one of the bottom lines trying to say is the interview a good movie? Yes. Is this something worth getting? Yes. Is this something to share with your friends? Yes. Is it something to share with your parents? As long as they understand how comedy plays out in this day and age. Because I know most parents probably would not go for this kind of stuff. Okay. Now, the other thing about my last channel update was talking about was part of what was the stuff that I had going on as well, or what I had intended for my YouTube channel. Part of it is playthroughs for specifically one and nothing else but video games. Like, let's see, I got myself a copy of the Resistance series, specifically for the PlayStation 3. And I do have Resistance Burning Skies for my PlayStation Vita, and I'm hoping to one day be able to get a copy of Resistance Retribution. Originally for the PlayStation Portable, then later on was able to have a port to the Vita. But problem is with the Elgato Capture Card HD60 I have is that it's not compatible with a PlayStation 3, and I need an HDMI splitter in order to hook it up. So it basically just means having to go find one, put money on it, then just hook up this and that, and basically it's quite a bit of work. And with the way my funds are and the time that I have allocated to myself and just all my other stuff going on, not going to be happening anytime soon. However, that doesn't mean that that's the end of my intention to do Let's Plays. Because I'm actually recording this little, well, I want to call it a podcast. I actually personally want to call this a broadcast, but in all true actuality, it's just a podcast. Very first one, in fact. But the screen recording program using this, let me just check out, make sure I got it the right one. The Fast Capture program that I'm using this actually also allows me to capture everything on my laptop screen, taskbar or no taskbar. And with that, I can actually play games on my Steam profile and just record that. Or I can shorten down the windows of the games that I'm playing and then use the screen capture options to basically size out the window itself and record that section specifically rather than recording just, my desktop and having whatever's on my desktop background in the background while I'm playing this game, while I'm trying to focus on playing this game. Now, I've got a number of games on here already. One of which is the Duke Nukem Platformer Trilogy. And what it is basically the original Duke Nukem game, 1, 2, and then Manhattan Project. And I've also got a few other games like Kung Fury Street Rage, based on the 30-minute hit Kung Fury. That's another great movie right there. I've also got a submarine game called Silent Hunter, Wolves of the Pacific. It's actually the 4th in the series. And let's see, I've also got a free download game I was able to find called Pixelland Blast, which, for any of you huge video game nerds and everything, is based on The Angry Video Game Nerd. Really fun, simple game, And I got one other game called Timelines Assault in America, which is basically a real-time strategy game. But unfortunately, I don't have to have a gamer mouse pad in order to play with it. Because apparently the controls do not respond very well with the small mouse pad that is integrated with my laptop, the touchscreen pad. Now, the last 3 games that I have on my laptop are actually visual novels. Now, I know what those of you who listen to this think about visual novels. I know. It's Japanese, but I love it. And I know there's a lot of negative conceptions about visual novels, specifically since they're dating games, and most of them are for mature audiences. However, thankfully, the ones I have are the all ages version. And I have to admit that after playing the 3 of them with one of the games I'm actually playing right now is If My Heart Had Wings, I've actually logged in over a total of 36 hours with it. That's right. You heard me right. 36 hours. That's more time that I've put in both Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3 in my life combined. Why did I put in such hours? Well, it's mainly because I want to complete all the routes, figure out which one's my personal favorite, and I want to do a Let's Play of it. I'm inspired by that with this game particularly because of a guy on YouTube I follow. Name is Genisys. So if you go up on my channel, then you'll see under my subscriptions, Genisys. He does visual novel playthroughs and a few video game playthroughs. The current visual novel he's playing right now is Princess Evangel, but he's also doing video game walkthroughs of like Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy X2, the remastered editions, and also Bloodborne. I haven't watched any of those because I mainly just watched the visual novel playthroughs. And speaking of video games, about what was it? About 2 or so weeks ago, I finally got Wolfenstein: The Old Blood. Now, when I say finally, I mean it took me almost half, if not a full month, to get the game downloaded from the PlayStation Network onto my PlayStation 4. I kid you not, because the internet here where I am, where I'm staying in the dorms, is 1 gigabyte per second, and it craps out almost every 10 minutes or 5 minutes or so. 2 if it's a really bad day. Which means that when it does crap out, the download stops. I have to go back to it, restart it. Thankfully, it just picks off right where it left off. So I've been having to do this on and off, on and off, on and off with the download, waiting for it feels like an eternity. And finally, I got it in. And now I played the first level, the prologue, and a little bit of the first chapter just to make sure that it works. And let me tell you, it works, and it's a great game. More than likely, somewhere down along the line, that's going to be a possible Let's Play. And it's mainly because I want to do the whole Wolfenstein series. Because when I think about first-person shooters that are like my personal favorite series out of all time, it's going to be Wolfenstein. Because there is nothing so great as taking a chain gun and just mowing down Nazis. Because they absolutely deserve it. Well, that pretty much takes that for my channel update, why I've been MIA and everything. But I've got another thing, since it's a podcast and everything, these things usually last about an hour or so. But I don't want to try not to go for that hour. But right now, I'm just pretty much talking just to talk, But let me tell you what else has been going on as of late. Let's see. About a month ago, I was able to watch the new Mad Max film, Mad Max Fury Road, which is the 4th in the series. And for those of you who have no idea what Mad Max is, I feel so sorry for you. You're missing out on a really great film series. Although, just for the record, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome is the worst in the series. Now, Mad Max is a post-apocalyptic tale about a cop who has a V8 Interceptor, a really badass car, with a double-barreled sawed-off shotgun on his side, and basically he just goes out, survives in the wasteland, dealing with all sorts of crazy people, bizarre situations. And the original trilogy was played by Mel Gibson, and Mad Max Fury Road is played by Tom Hardy, and he actually does a pretty good job. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail because I actually want to save the actual review of it for when the movie gets out on DVD and Blu-ray in the BX. Because I think that'll be appropriate time to pretty much give out a review. Mainly for should you get this movie or not? Or should you at least rent it just to say, okay, I saw Mad Max Fury Road. Plain and simple. Now, earlier, I had mentioned Kung Fury. Now, for those who don't know, it's a Swedish-made film they had a trailer released about a year ago about as I'm going to quote from the trailer, a kung fu renegade cop in Miami of 1985 who's got one mission: go back in time to Nazi Germany, kill Adolf Hitler, who is in the movie known as Kung Führer. It's a fun movie. I'll be honest with you, it is an absolute fun movie. It's 30 minutes, but it is, in my honest opinion, one of the best films ever made to date. Now, yes, everything is completely old school, outdated, no, complete homage to everything from the 80s. It's funky, it's ridiculous, I know, but it's what makes it so great. Now, if we're talking about movies, this is the movie I want to talk about with you guys today. It's actually the one that I just came from in the theater from watching today. Terminator Genisys. I gotta tell you, it's been years since I last saw the Terminator films. And, well, actually, before I get into that, let me just take a quick drink bit of water right here because my throat's about to get sore. I gotta tell you, that feels good. That feels absolutely good. Yeah, which also reminds me, since it's summer and everything, make sure you get hydrating and everything. And what was it they used to say in Big Good Old Boot was 1/4 to 3/4 of, I don't know how many canteens we had to keep drinking. I can't even remember the number off the top of my head. But anyhow, let's get back on track. Terminator Genisys. Now, for you dumb schmucks who have no idea what the hell Terminator is, I'll give it to you straight. Basically, the future gets crap. Machines start taking over the world. There's a human resistance. Looks like things are going to go good for the humans, but then the machines pull one up on us. They send a Terminator, which is a cybernetic organism, basically a robot with a metal exoskeleton with living human tissue flesh on the outside, is sent back in time to 1984 to kill Sarah Connor, the mother of the future human leader of the Resistance, John Connor. Now, in response to this, the Resistance sends another guy through time, one of their own. This is Kyle Reese. Now, in the original film back in 1984, these respective roles of Kyle Reese was played by Michael Biehn, well-known 80s actor, Linda Hamilton to play Sarah Connor, and the most iconic of all, the Terminator, played by Arnold the Governor Schwarzenegger. One of the best actors of all time. Hands down. Now, when it comes to Terminator, they have had 4 movies to date, and a number of video game tie-ins, and some book tie-ins, comic book tie-ins. I think I might already mention comic book tie-ins. And, one TV series that only lasted 2 seasons and got poor reception in the very end. Now, when it comes to the Terminator movies, specifically Terminator 2, Judgment Day, Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, and finally, Terminator Salvation, Terminator 1 and 2 are the best of the series. Terminator 3 and Terminator Salvation got mixed results, with 3 potentially being the worst in the series, even though it does have Arnold as the Terminator. Although that's still up to debate, because some people think that Salvation was the worst of the series. But anyhow, let me get to the point. Terminator Genisys rewrites all of that. Literally. It follows the same plot line in the beginning. The machines are at war with the humans. The human resistance, they make their final strike at the evil machines, which is a program by Skynet. The machines send a Terminator back in time to kill Sarah Connor. Kyle Reese follows in. This time, however, things are totally different. Kyle soon finds himself under attack by T-1000, a liquid metal Terminator from the second movie, and then gets saved by none other than Sarah Connor, who happens to be buddy-buddy with a T-800 model Terminator who's played by none other than Arnold Schwarzenegger. So somehow, some way or another, Kyle has found himself set into an alternate timeline, which means that the entire history of the entire Terminator series has now been officially rewritten, just like with the new Star Trek films, Star Trek 2009 and Star Trek Into Darkness. Basically, rewrite the series. Now, with this being said, which means Judgment Day has now moved from 1997, the initial date, to 2017, which last time I checked is actually 2 years from now. Now, with this new Terminator film, Arnold is back. And I gotta say, even after all these years since he last played the Terminator in Terminator 3, he still does it just great, hands down. I mean, just the action sequences and the subtle dialogue, or just the very direct, artificial dialogue, and even the small tad bits of jokes that he somehow manages to pull off. A lot of that is very reminiscent to the way he portrayed the Terminator in Terminator 2 Judgment Day when interacting with the very young 10-year-old John Connor. It's just, I gotta admit, when it came to watching Terminator Genisys and seeing all these nods, specifically with just the first 2 Terminator movies, it made me feel young again. It made me feel like I was watching the first 2 movies all over again. Now, what else can I say about the film? Well, I'll be honest with you. It's good. It hooks you right in the beginning with the opening sequence, the little backstory, and it just keeps you in your chair all the way until the very end of the movie. And that is an extremely good thing. Now, what was I talking about? Oh, yes. Now we get into the actual actors themselves. Now, again, I mentioned that Arnold still does the Terminator hands down, and continuing on those nods from the previous Terminator films, and he just does it perfect. I mean, there's just no question about it. Now, I think the actor who played Kyle Reese, Jay Courtney, I think he does a pretty good job of playing this alternate version of Kyle Reese. However, it would have been nice to see more nods to how Michael Biehn portrayed Kyle in the original Terminator, to see more nods. It's like it's entirely different timeline, but Kyle, in a sense, is still the same from the original timeline. He's just interacting in this new timeline, and it's completely different. Because, timeline, convoluted paradoxes, and all sorts of technical science that I can't really understand. But the Terminator explains it in the movie, believe it or not. And now, the other thing is, when it comes to the actors, is you've got you got Emilia Clarke, who plays Sarah Connor. Now, it's nothing like Linda Hamilton's Sarah Connor. I mean, sure, you could probably nitpick some nods here and there from the way Linda Hamilton played Sarah in the second Terminator movie, but all the innocence and fear you'd expect from the original Terminator movie, it's not there. This is an entirely new and different Sarah Connor. I mean, she has been prepared since she was a child by the T-800, the Guardian, and she is just ready for war. She knows what's expected of her, and she's just all out ready for war, which is pretty cool. And though the little human moments that she has with Kyle and the other Terminator, it is nice, but yet in a way it's kind of shows that she's been preparing for it and everything. It just, in a sense, it's like she and herself has turned into a machine, so to speak, emotionally, closing herself off on emotionally, which is actually a good take on the character itself, but it still kind of feels a little bit forced and odd. I think the biggest thing for me was Jason Clarke, who plays John Connor in this movie. Now, when it came to the trailers, My biggest beef was the second released trailer for Terminator Genisys, which pretty much revealed a major spoiler in the movie that John Connor himself, the hero, the leader of the human resistance, turns out to be the next evil Terminator. An entirely new brand of Terminator with nods to like the TX from Terminator 3, but like totally new format, and it's pretty badass. And it's also it just shows a great irony right here. The fact that John Connor has basically been preparing all his life to fight Skynet and its Terminators, and then it turns the table on him by basically having Skynet turn him into a Terminator. And he goes out to try to kill his mother and John, and of course the Guardian Terminator, and ensure that Skynet, has his succession and begins his war, is basically born. And I think another of the cool things with some of the actors, the actor who plays the T-1000 that Kyle encounters the minute he arrives in 1984, Byung-Hun Lee. Now, for those of you who do not know who Byung-Hun Lee is, if you give me just a second right here, I'm going to pull up his filmography, because I've actually looked at his face and he does seem pretty familiar. Like maybe I've seen him in another movie, so to speak, and oh, what do you know? Turns out he's Storm Shadow from G.I. Joe. Oh, there you go. The T-1000 is Storm Shadow. But I gotta admit, it was actually pretty cool. Like seeing the fact that the T-1000, it appears as a police officer in disguise and just has, the liquid metal knife arms just coming out and all the morphing that it does. It's just a huge, great nod to the original actor who played the T-1000, which was Edward Furlong, well-known actor, and really great performance in that movie as well. And just seeing him, it just feels like he really took care on giving a good performance as the T-1000. Okay, next thing to talk about in the movie right here. Might as well just go ahead and get into, some of the good things about the movie. I think the good things of this is the action sequences. Honestly, like I said earlier, it just, from the beginning, it hooks you and keeps you in your seat until the very end of the movie. And a lot of that is done through the incredible action sequences. Even with the huge big special effects and everything, which a lot of the movies are well known for today. There's just a really lot of good action set pieces when it comes to this movie. And such as in the very beginning, well, not the very beginning, but after Kyle goes into 1984, there's a huge fight between the T-800 Arnold Schwarzenegger, the one protecting Sarah, against the original Arnold, the original Terminator from, the first Terminator movie. And of course, a lot of that is done with special effects and probably motion captioned from the original Terminator film strip, but still, it's pretty cool. It's like almost like a Terminator nerd's fantasy come true. The current Arnold Terminator versus the old Arnold Terminator, which one comes out on top? And then you got more action set pieces, like when the Terminator John Connor goes after the trio on the school bus on the Golden Gate Bridge, the havoc that ensues, and then going into the Cyberdyne campus, the final showdown there. It's an incredible action piece from beginning frame to the next frame and the next. Another cool thing is that throughout the movie, there's all sorts of classic lines from the first two movies, specifically just the first two movies that get played out over again and again and again in this movie. And it just really feels like it's like a love letter to the original films done by James Cameron. And when it comes to the story, it just, I think, with this one right here, when it came to Terminator, is that in the previous Terminator films, it just goes that Skynet gets connected to the world basically through a military defense network and launches the nukes, destroys humanity. But then we just don't really get that sense, especially considering that originally Armageddon was originally in 1997. This is 2017. And the fact that Skynet takes on a huge new form, and get this, in the form of an app. That's right, an app. Like, what's that? Like iTunes or MapQuest. Those apps you find on your little phones, Skynet was ready and prepared as an app to be downloaded everywhere, which means it would be on your phone, it would be on your laptop, it would be on your iPad. Hell, it could probably be down on your iPod or your car's iPhone or whatever kind of tech. But it will also be, I find it interesting is that how in the society, in that world of 2017, is just people are just so expecting everything to be connected, like your car, your phone, your fridge, for Pete's sake, at the sound of this, the lights of your home, everything connected, just like in the power of your hand. Like, it's such a great thing. But no one thinks of the potential dangers. Again, with Skynet, that's the biggest thing. What if we develop a computer program that is so advanced and so connected to everything that it becomes self-aware and does exactly what Skynet does? Sees humanity as the biggest threat to the planet and just wipes out the face of the earth. And that's a lot of things that some people just don't seem to really get a grip on because, well, who's got the time to think big on these lost days? We're focused on watching this film right here, watching the action. Okay, the minor details, like the philosophical questions, we don't care. That's how I feel is what a lot of people are just having that attitude, which I think is extremely negative. And speaking of negative, I want to talk about some of the things that I actually did kind of have a problem with in this movie. And the first thing was like, there's still a number of unanswered questions I have. For example, the T-800, the current Arnold Schwarzenegger, who sent him in time to protect Sarah Connor, to prepare her and everything. We don't know how that occurred. Or it's just, there's just, you got a number of just unanswered questions. Or like, how come we didn't see, what was the doctor's name? Dr. Silverman from the first two Terminator movies. How come he didn't make like a little small cameo in the film? That would have been nice. That would have been another great nod to the original two movies. And the side characters, like you got a number of side characters out here. You got like J.K. Simmons, who plays the older version of a cop that Kyle encounters in 1984 and helps save his life. And you've got Miles Dyson with his son Danny, but they're played by totally different actors. But just like, they're there either to inject maybe small tad bits of humor or maybe just help move the plot along. It's just, you don't get that real good character depth that you got in the original two movies, especially even with side characters, no matter how minor there was. So it just kind of felt like that was a little negative. But, sometimes you just work with what you got. Now, that pretty much sums up my spiel on Terminator. If you give me just another minute, I gotta take myself another water break. Refreshing water, substance of life. Okay, as I said, pretty much wrapped up my review of Terminator Genisys. So it's time to go ahead and just give up the straight rating for it. Now, the way my rating system goes for movies, it's going to go with this. It's going to go on a scale of 1 to 5, but each number has a specific explanation for it. So I'm going to start with 1, which is absolutely the worst, and work my way up to 5, which is absolutely the best. So, number 1, if I rate a movie that's 1 out of 5, don't bother. Don't even bother with the film. It is just so horrible. Don't even waste any amount of your brain cells with it. Go watch one of those silly vines or something that's really popular on the internet now rather than watching this film. You go ahead, rot your brain cells on a vine than that. 2, if it's a 2 out of 10, okay, quite frankly, if you're just bored and you're looking for a laugh, either with a friend, coworker, or someone just for kicks, or you just want to see something completely dull because you got nothing better to do, then rent it. It's just plain simple. Just rent the movie. If you like it, that's good for you. If not, it's whatever. It's like, what, $3-5 for a rental? Now, number 3, if I rate a film that's 3 out of 5, this is like middle down the road. split down the middle. It's good, but then again, it's not great. You rent it, you buy it. It's completely up to you. If you like it, good. Go ahead and just give yourself a copy, or just say, hey, I saw this movie. I like it. I happen to like it. I don't want to own a copy of my own, but I like it. Number 4, if it's a 4 out of 5, it's a great film. Now, this is one of those films that you really should consider adding to your own film collection. Now, with certain films, okay, maybe you can add to your collection if you got the space and the money. But then again, do you really want to? Like years down the road, are you still going to be watching this film? Are you still going to be enjoying it like you did the very first time? That's how it usually goes with most movies. You buy one, and then you enjoy it. You watch it a few times, and then years down the road, you're low on money, or you want to revamp your movie collection. You look at the title that you bought so years ago that you loved the very first time it came out. I was like, I could live without this. Yeah. Now, number 5. Now, this is the cream of the top, the top of Mount Everest, so to speak. Honestly, if I say a film is a 5 out of 5, get it. Get it for your collection. No ifs, ands, or buts. Hell, go all out and get the Blu-ray 3D copy of it, which also comes with the regular Blu-ray, the DVD, and the digital copy, and which is all the big extra features and everything. Or if they got a extended cut and everything, go out and get it. It's a great film. Go spend your hard-earned money on the Ultimate Edition for it, because it's that great of a film. But then again, this is just my rating scale. At the end of the day, it's completely up to you. I can only give you a little reference from what I've seen and from my own studies of movies and everything. Well, I gotta say, we're looking at 42 minutes right here, and I gotta say, that's actually been a pretty good time. That's pretty much been the success of this podcast right here. I'm hoping it turns out to be a really great success. But, yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for me right over here. I'm pretty much done with my little podcast right here. Again, saw Terminator Genisys, consider it a 4 out of 5, and when it comes to the upcoming weather for the next few weeks, we're still looking at some high weather, but Wednesday, Thursday, expect clouds, and looks like we got an update. Looks like we got a 50% chance of showers this Thursday. So if you've been blazing hot, sweating like crazy, like you've been locked in a gym bag for 3 days, go out in your bathing suit when it's raining and just let that water just rinse all over you and just let it feel good. Let it make you feel alive like you're a kid with no care. Just be sure not to get hit by lightning, because I hear that's extremely bad for you. Well, anyhow, this has been the very first podcast of me right here, good old Sean Collado, on After Work Hours. I'm not sure when the next podcast we're going to be. I would like to do this on a weekly, maybe more than likely a bi-weekly basis. But again, this all depends on my work schedule and also my own personal training schedule. And not to mention allocating time to talk with my girlfriend, because I love her very much. I miss her with all my heart, and want to be able to talk with her as much as I can, even if I have to stay up 24 hours in order to do so. So, Dawn, honey, if you listen to this, I love you, and I can't wait to see you again whenever I get back. And keep on running, keep on going strong, and I'm hoping this podcast turns out really great. Yep, that's pretty much it for this right here. And so yeah, in the probably later on this month, definitely expect me and Martin to work on filming for our little Loot Crate challenge. So Mattern, if you're listening to this, make sure you take some time yourself to get ready for it. Me and Martin will contact you later on for it, and then everyone just keep your ears to the ground. Keep up the good work at wherever you're doing. And since it's the summer season, make sure you stay hydrated, stay cool. Go commando if you need to, if you're that hot. And, just enjoy the summer. And I will see you guys next time. Or if I see you in the shop, I'll see you in the shop. This has been Sean Collado of After Work Hours, signing off.